Hey everyone, welcome to Talking Headless, episode 10. And the company today is Microsoft. So let me tell you how I actually got to Microsoft on this one, because this one's actually kind of interesting. I put out the word on LinkedIn like 5 days ago, 6 days ago, maybe. Can you help me? I need a company to do an analysis on. Who do you choose? And I didn't get a lot of responses. I was sort of disappointed in the number, maybe 4 or 5. But interestingly enough, aside from the fact that the majority of them were from Microsoft, they were all very well thought out and so on. But Microsoft really did stand out as kind of the overwhelming choice of a small number. So given that I had already covered several of the other majors, and given that Microsoft's a particularly interesting case, which we'll get to in a second, I thought it would be a good idea to do Microsoft. But here's the tricky part with Microsoft. For 25 years plus, I've done CRM, I've done CX, I've done customer engagement, I've done the back end of that, meaning the analytics associated with it. Let's say I've done anything. I've done supply chain even because of the impact it has on customer experience, and so on and so forth. Microsoft is such a substantial company with a different view of itself, really, than I think most other companies have. In fact, probably unique in the way they view themselves, that you can't really just cover CRM, CX, or Dynamics, their Dynamics division, which is kind of the business applications division, by itself. It's almost impossible. And there are two reasons for that. And the two reasons are ecosystems and the rebranding that they recently underwent. And we're going to start with the former first. Look, Microsoft in the last year or so rebranded itself as an AI company. And a lot of companies are kind of pushing that envelope a little bit. Salesforce kind of dabbled with it. They kind of waffled between AI and data, even though there's still more, business applications than they are either of the other two. They use the other two, but they're still a business applications company in their heart. Microsoft actually kind of has a good case for this. It's kind of, in effect, a brilliant rebranding. I mean, number one, they've been developing AI for, I don't know, decades, and in fact released what was called Visa Sales, which had AI, Gen AI built into a Gen AI of sorts built into it, and it's now rebranded Copilot. Before Gen AI was a thing, they have Azure AI Studio, which is the development tools for building AI, large language models, small language models, tool sets, et cetera, et cetera. You're investing a bloody fortune in the AI research. I don't know the exact number there. They have an investment, of course, in a partnership with OpenAI, and that's a $13 billion investment, the largest investor with OpenAI, and we'll get to that in a minute or two. They have their partners building on their backbone, which is their AI backbone too, which is Azure. And Azure ultimately is the core part of the platform that Microsoft is offering that makes the difference between Microsoft and anyone else, including, by the way, Amazon, given everything else that Microsoft offers. So, for example, their partners like NVIDIA, which is a partnership we'll get into also a little later, their partners like NVIDIA are building the NVIDIA AI Foundry, which is the same as kind of Azure AI Studio on Azure. Copilot, which is their contemporary AI platform piece, is ubiquitous throughout the entire platform, meaning it's built into Microsoft Sales. It's called Sales Copilot, Marketing Copilot, Service Copilot. They have it literally built into Windows 11 as basically a part of the actual operating system. In fact, something you'll see later was I had generated on that. Right, we'll see it in a little while. It's central, of course, to Bing. And it's funny, everyone kind of mocks Bing, but Bing was the first ones to use ChatGPT, obviously, as a part of its own, branded with itself. And they were using ChatGPT 4 when you still had to pay for that, as opposed to 3.5, which was free. But, Bing is a $12 billion unit of Microsoft. It may not be the biggest one, but it's a big deal. It's part of Office, everything Office has. I mean, what Microsoft has done is actually make a great case to brand themselves as an AI company. And if you've watched, so it made this year's Microsoft event, Ignite, which is usually a developer event, an actually particularly important event for Microsoft, because if you look at all the key presentations of the entire event, you'll see that they're AI specifically focused, and Satya is talking about AI, but it's also Microsoft's justification for being an AI company and showing the completeness of both their vision, their mission, and their actual efforts when it comes to AI. The other thing that has shaped the current situation around AI and AI, Microsoft as an AI company, is the fact that it turns out that Satya Nadella is a very politically savvy guy, which, I've always loved him as their CEO. I think he's an amazing man. And I had a chance many, many years ago when he was, I think, a VP of engineering or something, to shake his hand, but that was the only interaction I've ever had with the guy, which is a pity. I'd love to meet him. But he was really smart when this whole OpenAI board thing happened, right? Because if you remember the story, and I'm not going to get into it much because it's really not totally germane to what we're talking about, but it does have a little bit of impact. If you remember how that went down, the board of directors fired Sam Altman, and Microsoft, when it looked like he couldn't go back, Microsoft hired him, and his staff were going to go over to Microsoft, so the board rehired him. Now, we're going to get into something way later that is part of that, but not quite yet. But Satya Nadella knew exactly what he was doing when he, quote, hired him. He didn't only hire him for the skill set, right, that he would bring to, he and Greg Brockman would bring to Microsoft. He hired him knowing full well the board would probably reconsider and bring him back. He was very smart, and he made the move he had to make, despite the insanity and the immaturity of the board of OpenAI. But I'm not writing that off completely. But it's not really the AI play that makes Microsoft what it is today. Excuse that. That's me getting too close. What Microsoft has been very aware for the last 10, 12, maybe even 15, not quite 15 years, that their play is as an ecosystem. And when I say that, I mean, look, I wrote 15 years ago when Ballmer was still there, Microsoft's the only company on the planet that can actually enable a person's life end to end. That means from the business side of their life, their work side, all the way through to their personal and their entertainment and pleasure side, every bit end to end. I mean, you look at it on the business side. Obviously, they have Dynamics, they have all the Azure tools. They have everything related to Azure. They have the hardcore IT capabilities they need. They have the AI. They have Office, right, which is all business. They have Windows 11, the operating system, which is still by far the most dominant operating system on the planet when it comes to any sort of work and really even home environments. On the personal side, they have Office, which we all use it personally for the most part. Not everybody. Younger kids are using other things now, but they still use a lot of those tools. But they also have Xbox. They have Blizzard, which is that gigantic gaming company. In fact, one of Blizzard's games, Diablo 4, is my current obsession. I'm playing it. I'm getting to a level 100. I promise you I'm going to get there. I actually turned out to be fairly good at that one. And all in all, you have an end-to-end ecosystem. And again, you have the tools, you have the operating system, you have the applications, you have the you have the solutions, you have the backbone. The only thing you don't have, which Oracle has, is the hardware. And Oracle doesn't have the personal side very well down. So Microsoft kind of trumps Oracle in that regard. And they understand that. They're a very self-aware company, that their play is always their ability to handle that ecosystem in a way that actually allows others to, or allows people to live their life enabled by Microsoft tools. It's also explains something. Look, one of the things that's happened with Dynamics over the years, and of course that's where I've always focused, and I've been their advisor in it, I've done a lot with them, is that it's never been a gigantic revenue producing part of Microsoft. The last number I had, which is an old number of probably 5-6 years ago, because I haven't looked, to be perfectly honest, since, is probably 4, 5, 6 billion, maybe 8, but 4 or 5 billion, roughly that. Very small by comparison to Microsoft's revenue. I mean, just an example of that, because of their AI play, in the last year, Microsoft's market value, not their revenue, but their market value in 1 year went up an additional $1 trillion. Trillion, TR, not B, not M, TR. So you're talking about a incredibly significant number of where Dynamics is small. But Microsoft gets that they need business applications to keep the ecosystem complete. And it's very important to their ability to make the continuous claim. And again, AI is something that runs throughout that ecosystem, although not so much on the personal side as of now. The other thing that ecosystem play of Microsoft creates is a huge desire and a great capability for partners. And the level of strategic, forget the ISV level. Look, to give you an example, years ago, I think it was 2018, 2019, I went to, it was called Terranea outside of LA, and it's a big resort area. And I was speaking at the Microsoft Industries Conference. And this was specific industries. I keynoted the conference. There was a crowd of about a little under 1,000 people representing, and this was the key, 270 some odd industries. Microsoft has impact in 270 some odd industries, and that was 2018. Of course, they have deep penetration into a lot of the things they don't call industry specific, like with the operating system, of course, and with Office, and with not so much with Dynamics a little bit, and also always with, of course, Copilot. But Microsoft has understood the value of not these smaller industry specific partners or these, it was industry partner event. That was my mistake. I said industry event. There was 270 industries represented by about 1,000 partner representatives there. So they have the huge ISV network too. I mean, they just have I was a Microsoft partner in the 90s, for God's sake, and their benefits were great with the co-marketing and everything else. This was a real benefit, and it's always been one of the best partner programs, bar none, in the world. No one really quite as good as them. Now, has some of that changed? Yeah, sure. But we're not going to get into that. That's not necessary. But I'm talking at the level of strategic partners in the ecosystem. So we're talking about companies like Adobe, which, of course, is my GARP partnership. Now, I know Brent would like me to do NVIDIA as GARP, but it doesn't meet the standard yet. What is that? The Adobe GARP stands for Get a Room Partnership. It's so intimate that you don't even want to look at it, right? I mean, think about it. The architects of both companies open the kimono so that you can see each other's architectures to build to it. Adobe is building AEM, or is integrating Adobe Experience Manager into Dynamics CRM. Creative Cloud is on the Microsoft price list. PDF is now being integrated into Microsoft Edge as a key part of their partnership. Adobe is building a large number of their key business technologies on Azure. I mean, you're talking about, and the Adobe marketing capabilities are offered by Microsoft as enterprise level, enterprise grade marketing. I mean, that's an astounding partnership, and it just gets better and better. But you can go further. I mean, look, you have NVIDIA has 2 partnerships with Microsoft. They have one on gaming, where Microsoft on the personal side is building things on NVIDIA's gaming GPUs, like the NVIDIA 4090 Ti or some of the real heavyweights. I mean, they're doing things like that. On the supercomputing side, Azure is combining with those GPUs and whatever chips and that NVIDIA is building. They had the $13 billion investment in OpenAI, and obviously the biggest partnership, and it looks like they're getting a seat on the board, although that hasn't happened to my knowledge. But again, I'm a Dynamics CRM CX guy. So what does that mean for all this? Well, look, I mean, ultimately the AI partnership with the AI rebranding of Microsoft with all these and the work with all these other companies, Copilot's integrated into everything that Dynamics can possibly offer. And look, Visa Sales, I was helpful, I hope, in the launching of that product, which I have always found to be an outstanding and visionary, and at the same time, incredibly smart and practical product, is now Sales Copilot, and is one of the best products on the market, might be best of breed when it comes to a pure kind of SFA product, because it also takes into account the salesperson as well as the customer on the other end, which is another thing. Marketing and service is integrated into that. Now, marketing and service themselves as products are both leaders on MQ, but they don't quite reach the standard, I don't think, of best of breed. I would say if I'm looking at best of breed or better of breed, at least on the marketing side, it could be Adobe and Oracle, and maybe even Salesforce is there also when it comes to their marketing cloud. On customer service, I'd say Salesforce, Oracle, and maybe ServiceNow are equal or better than Microsoft. And again, these are broad, sweeping generalizations. I don't want to get too far into that. And all in all, we're looking at products, though, that at the same time are worthy of anyone's consideration. So what are you dealing with here? You're dealing with an AI company that understands, and is very self-aware company that understands it's an ecosystem both this way and even to some extent this way, although they could do more with the visibility of their industries, not so much with the industries themselves, but actually begin to, they actually are a unique company on this planet. And to be honest, at this point, they're not doing a whole lot wrong. For example, I was looking at the what to do section, and we're going to get into that right now. And one of the things I was looking at before we get into what they actually need to do, one of the things I was looking at was their lack of what I felt was the lack, at least with me, of interaction from the pure analyst side. They interact with me and Brent as kind of this hybrid media analyst thing, and they are. Thank you, Microsoft and Microsoft Copilot, for being sponsors of CRM Players. Stump the Godfather. But thank you for being the sponsors of Stump the Godfather. And we appreciate that very much. But I'm an analyst, and I have been for 25 years, despite my aversion to even using the word in the beginning. And I don't really have a lot of interaction. I don't even know who runs Dynamics CRM anymore now that Neha Badwa left, and she's gone elsewhere. We always had clear succession. You had Bob Stutz. You had Brad Wilson. Then you had Bob Stutz. There was another guy in between, but very short-lived. Brad Wilson, Bob Stutz. Then Dina Apostolou. Then Neha Badwa. Now I don't have a clue. And James Phillips kind of ran all of Dynamics. I don't have a clue who's running it. I don't know. So I thought, okay, that's a general problem. They need to pick up with it. But that's not. I checked around, especially with the institutional analysts, the Gartner Forrester people. like that, and they all have a good relationship with Dynamics. So that's not really an issue. I think it's just me. So, that's out. So, but hopefully thing with me I'll get better. But generally, I have a good relationship. It has nothing to do with that. But let's take a look at what they really do need to do. And here's the funny thing. I really had a struggle, but these are things they need to do. And the word is emphasis. That's the key to everything they need to do. It's not like they're not doing any of these things. They're doing all of them. But they need to make these more visible, more public, more emphatic about what they have. They need to make this something that you can find without looking, in a manner of speaking. Like, for example, if you look at that battle between OpenAI and Microsoft, you'll see one thing about it. I mean, OpenAI and Altman, the board and Altman, the battle was simplified into a fight between safety, security, and ethical considerations versus making money as a company. And Altman was supposedly making money as a company, and the board, which was a nonprofit board, was there to ensure that basically AI didn't go sentient and take over the world, and that there was ethical use of AI. Now, even though the board was really stupid about the way they handled it, and I have no doubt about the interest of Sam Altman in the security and ethics of AI, it made it sound like that was the battle, and it actually is a part of a battle. It's a real one. And what you're seeing with companies like Salesforce and others out there, they are putting a huge emphasis on the guardrails to make Gen AI both not only non-hallucinatory and accurate, but safe, right? And Salesforce with the trust layer and all the things, but they're going out and they are on a crusade and a campaign around trust and AI and its relationship. I think Microsoft, even though I did find plenty of literature, so to speak, posts and things in the back end, I don't see Microsoft really pushing it out there over the airwaves. I don't see it as a proactive thing they're doing. I just see it as there. I think they need to be clear about that. I think they need to take that. Number two is awareness of their ecosystem as it's changed. What it was 15 years ago is not what it is now. And I think it would be good for them to start, let's say, formulating things in terms of that ecosystem more consciously. Look, perfect example. Thunderhead, a company I love to pieces, my favorite product of all time, journey orchestration done by the incredible, designed by the incredible Ray Gerber, who's over at Qualtrics now. Thunderhead had this guy named Phil Venville, and Phil Venville was kind of resident intellectual, and he built an enormously beautiful customer engagement framework that wasn't part of Microsoft. That required engagement, but wasn't part of Thunderhead. Didn't require Thunderhead. And by the way, just a reminder, even though I did say it, Brent, and I didn't see your comment. So how's that? How about that? And they had this intellectual framework. I think Microsoft needs to start talking about their ecosystem in terms of what it's like in the 21st century, in 2023, in 2024, and going forward. In 2011, they did a day in the life, which is sort of a partner video between them and Samsung, on what would a business person's life be from the moment they wake up in a day till they go to the airport, get on a plane, land, go to work at some other location, and then close out their day. They need another day in the life video like that to really push through their video, their ecosystem, or like Corning's Day Made of Glass. It's time for those kind of things where you start looking at a real world perspective and real world execution of the ecosystem in real terms. Again, emphatic, emphasize. And the other thing, which is going to sound really peculiar, given what I said about Terranea, is they need to start talking about their industry focus a lot more than they do. They have it. They have industry-specific products. They have partners building those products. They have a sort of hybrid version of what Creatio has when it comes to how they deal with industry-specific ISVs. They own a number of their own industries, meaning Microsoft builds the products industry specific products, but their partners build a number of them too. And if they're good products, they go to market with them. And Microsoft needs to be talking about this industry specific outlook. Look, SAP, whether it's right or wrong, and I don't really think it's totally right for them, but SAP is going forward with industry specific CX. Downside there is they're doing without any CX in general. There's only industry specific, it's only vertical CX. And at least that's how it comes across. But in Microsoft's case, they have the horizontal sort of CX part of the thing down. They need the vertical one more clear. Again, there's nothing they're doing wrong. They're just not emphasizing enough. So Microsoft, hats off, man. You guys are just on one of the better roles I've seen. And look, is there nothing out there that you're doing wrong? I didn't find a whole lot. That doesn't mean there isn't. There's a lot of areas of your company I don't deal with. But at the same time, your messaging has been brilliant. The age of co-pilots, right? Look, ultimately, everyone already caved to Copilot. Salesforce is Copilot. Oracle, I mean, I'm sorry, Adobe is Copilot. You know, you've got it, and you have a chance to be a very, very dominant force here, and just drive. And look, $1 trillion in market value over a year is actually, I think this is Brent and I think, and this is an official player's position. We need to rename Copilot to Wingman, or one of the other companies, maybe Oracle Wingman. Maybe it's that. They don't call theirs Copilot yet. Or ServiceNow Wingman. Or, you know what I'm saying? SAP, I don't think you'll do it. But you guys, ServiceNow, Oracle, if you don't want to call yourself Copilot, Wingman. See, I'll be back. So, all right, folks, that's Microsoft. Thank you. And now we're going to go on to the segment I just absolutely adore. And that is something I really, and here's the deal. We're going to start with dislike. I hate, no, hate's too strong a word. I strongly dislike self-promoting narcissism. And by the way, this CX master clown taking himself seriously in front of social media was generated by the internal Copilot in Microsoft Windows 11. I thought it was a pretty good one. And I'm going to get it framed and sent to the self-promoting narcissists out there. Look, here's the deal. I want to read you. I don't normally like busy slides, but I'm going to read. I want you to read this slide. Look at what it said. This is narcissism by academic and clinical definition. Grandiose narcissism, hereafter narcissism, is a personality trait marked by beliefs of personal superiority and a sense of entitlement to special treatment. Now, I want you to tell me how many people you can literally think of when you hear these descriptors. Narcissists tend to go out of their way to impress others. Okay, that's 1 million. They often groom their appearance to grasp others' attention. That's more TikTok-y, I would say. They brag about themselves. Another, let's say, narrows it down to 750,000, and showcase their abilities and talents in front of others. Keep it at that 750. At the same time, narcissists are often combative toward others. In such instances, they are often perceived as confrontational, insulting, belittling, and intimidating. All of these with academic references, which I know Graham Hill would love. So, by the way, Graham Hill going to be a host on a show coming next year on PPN. More on that later. But think about the people who do this. There's guys out there, and I can think of many. So I'm not pinning it down on one, who say, look, well, there's all these top 50 lists that, subliminally, of course, he's not saying that I'm not on, for CX experts, yet none of them has a day of real life experience. They're all academic, or they were middle management in a company that wasn't so great on CX, so blah, blah, blah. This broad brushstroke about everybody else but them. I have been doing this, blah, 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 for years and years. I know how to do this. No one else does. or the people who say, I am the master, I have brilliant insights, I am a magnificent host, I am a wonderful and fun person, and you're not. So you want me? Come get me. Or the people who refer to themselves in the third person. I don't never get that one. Who but then go on and basically compliment themselves, right? So I don't get this. Okay. I don't understand why people have to do this. I mean, I understand clinically, but there's no room for it, man. Look, there's a million ways that things can be interpreted. And there's a value in everything. Look, years ago, G2 Crowd, which was not just G2, that was G2 Crowd, belittled Gartner and Forrester analysts, especially all analysts, really, as basically bought and paid for, which I blasted them for. And I said, look, their model and your model are different. Your user tested applications, they're the big picture people. They're the ones who know 50 applications where the user who's giving you a result knows one. I said, there's a benefit to both of you. I was a little more harsh on G2 Crowd, when Mike Fawcett went there, then Mike understood that because Mike's one of the best analysts in the business and was literally one of the people that I CC'd on this years before he went there. Mike got it. Right? It wasn't self-promoting. I mean, I don't want to say G2 Crowd was narcissistic, but they were self-promoting and they were doing it at the expense of others. You don't need to do that. And you don't need to constantly promote yourself and constantly wait for somebody to support you. The biggest problem with all of the self-promoting narcissism is sycophants, right? And that's the problem. The people who say, yeah, rah, 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 I'm the same way as you. I just don't go and say it publicly. You do for me. Thank you. Thank you for being honest. That's not honesty. Okay. So here's the deal. Self-promoting narcissists, don't come in my presence, please. I mean, if you know you are, look, I've been in the presence of several. I have a perfectly cordial relationship with them, but the reality is I don't like self-promotion. I understand a little, but I don't like self-promoting narcissists who do it at the expense of other people and doing it only to their benefit. So, but that's the dislike. I don't want to leave things on a bad note. So let's bring it to a good note. So let's look at something I like. The Savannah Bananas. I love them. I love them. They're the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball. I mean, think about these guys. They started out in, I think, 2015 I forget what they called it. It was like the Collegiate Professional League or something. It was a summer collegiate baseball league that actually had a league. And they started in 2016, I think it was. And then they won 3 championships, but they became known for doing kind of crazy things on the field and having a great time. And this is a group that then dropped, I think by 2021, they dropped the league. They created an exhibition tour, and then they said they're going on their first world tour, and they went from Savannah to Mobile, Alabama. That was the first world tour. And now they have a 33-stop world tour, all in the U.S., and they go around and they put on exhibitions, but they operate on banana ball, which is a different baseball rule. So just an example of a base, two of the rules. And one rule is you don't win with runs. You win if you're the highest scoring team of the inning. So, for example, let's say I'm playing the CRM players are playing the Savannah Bananas, and we score 3 runs in the top of the first, and we get 3 outs. And I'm going to get to the outs as my second piece in just a moment. And then in the bottom, they score 4 with 1 out. The inning's over, and they get a point, and they win. You win the inning based on the number of runs, right? That's how you do it. The other thing is this is the most fan-engaged team I have ever seen in my life. So, for example, I am going to end the show with a 2-minute video on the top 4 moments and in Savannah Banana baseball. I think it was last year or the year before. Watch them and watch the first one and think how engaged the fans really are. So with that, here we go.
I can personally attest that it's saved probably 5 or 6 would have been hits. Yeah,
Just fluke shots over second that he's there to catch every time, which is definitely something cool to see. Catch it, stay in here.
Oh! That one's caught. It's out number 3. How about that? Zach Whalen pops out to the crowd for the second time in his banana ball career.
The first foul ball caught.
A pop out to the crowd is an out.
Cutter in on his hands. Oh, here we go. Boom, boom, boom.
Oh, these guys are spot on right now.
This is a tough little dance right here. Hey.
Watch
hey.
this.
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Straight change. Ground ball to first. Oh, he jammed him in it. You got room. You got room. You got room. Yeah. Bill Leroy.
Comes up to the plate with his bat literally on fire. His bat is ablaze. There's always a first in Banana Land. It looks like it's been no damage to the lumber. Figured that one out, and that's a hot shot up the middle.
The world's tallest hitter.
Now a 2-2 pitch. And that is a liner into center field. Splits has to get on his horse because he's barreling towards first. The throw is offline.
By the way, notice the
and
drone that's
miracles
flying around
do
there?
indeed happen, folks. You better believe Dakota Stilts Albritton has lined his first base hit in his Bananas career.
And there you have it, the Savannah Bananas. And there you have it from me. I'm Paul Greenberg. This has been Talking Headless. We'll see you next year. Well, we'll see you in a month, but we'll also see you next year at a live event for CRM Players' 15th anniversary. Watch for the details. And so long. Have a wonderful holiday. See you in late December.
Mashed up, broken into two. I didn't know I was pretty till I took a look at you and I'm rolling. Yeah, I'm still rolling. Baby, there ain't nothing I can lose and I sure got the blues. Hey!
This has been a Players Productions Network digital broadcast.